Okay, so we are going to learn about singleton design pattern. Singleton design pattern is one of the core design patterns in object-oriented design, which is infamous for designing applications that are going to be used on a very large scale. So, first of all, what does singleton means? Singleton design means that the class can only have exactly one instance, no more than that. So this is a design decision. For instance, we want to use a particular class for some certain shared logic. So we do not require multiple instances of that class if that class's logic does not require any state to be maintained. So if it is stateless, we can use a singleton instance across the entire application and reduce the heap memory usage and basically optimize our application. So I'm going to write the implementation and then we will go over the explanation. Okay, so this is the implementation of a singleton design pattern. Now, uh, if this particular class is going to be used in any given application, there is only going to be a single instance that is going to be created across the application. And how is that possible? So first of all, what I have done here is the make this constructor, this part, the private constructor has been made private. So the reason this is not going to allow more than one instance of the class is the story starts from the constructor. So private access modifier will essentially hide this particular constructor from anywhere outside of the class. So we cannot access this constructor from anywhere outside of the class. We have only a single public method to get the instance of this class. So if the constructor is made private, no one can access it outside of the class, and hence there is no instance creation outside of this class. There is now, okay, now let us come to this method, static method, I would say. So what this does is, like, it first checks whether the instance is actually null. Null here means that there is no instance in the entire application as of now of this particular class. So if the instance is pointing towards null, it will go inside the if block and execute the logic. Now you might ask why I have used synchronized keyword here. So okay, let me come inside. First of all, let's understand what synchronized keyword does. So, synchronized keyword enables the intrinsic locking mechanism, synchronization mechanism of all the classes, and it is a default behavior of all the classes to have the intrinsic synchronization. Because in Java, every class that we create, whether it is a custom or it is a Java API class, it is going to be extending object class implicitly, and this behavior comes from the object class itself. So synchronized is used here to maintain the synchronization. Now, what is the synchronization? Synchronization simply means there is at any point in time there is only a single thread that is going to access this block of code, like this inside this synchronized block. Let me highlight this block. This is only going to get executed by a single thread at any point in time. If the As we know, Java is a multi-threaded programming language, so there are going to be multiple threads, and even in a Spring Boot application there are going to be multiple requests that are going to be served by multiple threads. So it might happen that two threads come at the same time, basically the race condition that will occur. So they will see that singleton instance equals is not assigned to any instance, so they will see that at the same point and they will go inside the if block. But synchronized here will make sure that from both the threads that have accessed the outer if block at the same time, any one of them is going to get executed first, and only after it releases the lock on this class, then only other thread is allowed to access the synchronized block. So inside the synchronized block, I have added another check which checks whether the instance is actually created at this point in time or not. If not created, then and only then we are going to create the instance using the private constructor, which you guys might remember that private constructor has access limited to the class itself and not outside, and we are currently inside the class. Okay, so here we have successfully created an instance, and after the if block execution, we are returning that instance. And what happens to that another thread which is waiting for the release of this lock that has been occupied by the first thread? So it basically, after the first thread releases the lock, it gets access to the synchronized block and it will check inside whether the singleton instance is still null or not. But as you remember, the singleton instance has been initialized and is not null yet. So it will completely skip the if block inside the synchronized block, and it will come out of the method and return the singleton instance that has been previously created by the first thread. So once the instance is created, now the outer if block is going to fail each and every time because the instance is created once, and now it is not pointing towards a null memory reference, and it will just return the created instance that the first thread. Remember the race condition that has been occurred between two threads. The first thread is the instance created by the first thread. It is always going to return that instance no matter how many threads are executing this method concurrently. Okay, so that was the explanation of singleton design pattern. Thank you.